Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to get this makeup look because I have an event that I'm going to tonight and I wanted to try something fun and new and different. So if you guys want to learn how to get this look and see how I do it, then keep watching. So for today's makeup, I am loosely kind of drawing inspiration from this picture of Shay because you guys know she is like my ultimate girl crush, especially when it comes to makeup and fashion. And this is just a makeup look that the makeup artist Patrick Ta did on her. I think that's how you say his name. I'm not entirely sure. But essentially, it's kind of just her everyday glowy makeup with a little bit of like a gray toned brownie eyeshadow. So in this picture, you guys can see she kind of has this really nice simple brown eye look that has like kind of like a gray toned brown. But what I'm really looking at in this picture is her inner corner highlight that has just a little bit of like a pinky purpley tone to it. So that's where I'm drawing my inspiration from today, and hopefully it comes out as good as it does on her because I've obviously never tried this before. For my summer makeup, I have told you guys this before, for events, I learned something very crucial, which is that if you're going someplace that you know you are likely to get hot and maybe a little bit sweaty on your face like me, then I like to skip foundation. So if it was a event that I was going to in the sunlight, then I would be applying my Coola sunscreen. I love this sunscreen the best. I think it just gives you a really nice matte finish. It feels really nice on the skin and it doesn't break me out personally. And it has the cucumber scent and an SPF of 30. So not too high, not too low. But since I'm going to be indoors, I'm going to skip that and just go in with a smoothing primer. This one is the Makeup Forever Step 1 base. And I just like this primer because it doesn't have any real color. And honestly, I only like to have one primer in circulation at a time. But this guy will just help me look matter for longer without any kind of product over him. Okay, so now that that is in my skin, I'm going to be using the same technique that you guys saw in my last video, which is that since I'm not going to be using any kind of foundation, I am going to be using a little bit heavier usage of some concealers. So I have three here. I have the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer, the Rimmel Wake Me Up Concealer, and the Sephora Bright Future Color Correcting Concealer in the pink and brightening shade. So I'm first going to go in with the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer, and I'm going to apply this to my under eyes. And I'm going to go a little bit heavier than you might have seen in my last video, just because this is a more formal event. So I want a little more coverage, but I just don't want to have to put a product on my face, honestly. So keeping the concealer in the center of my face and then on blemishes. So that looks crazy. It looks really crazy. You guys don't have to tell me twice. I'm going to be using two different methods of blending this out. The first way is that any place that I just applied for like a little bit of coverage or just pigmentation evening, I'm just going to blend it out with a beauty blender because I think that it gives the most blended effect where it's going to look even though I only applied a concealer to certain areas. So anywhere that I have a blemish that I'm trying to conceal, since I'm not wearing a foundation, I want to be really specific here and make sure that I'm getting the most coverage as possible. So I'm just going to be using a small concealer brush. In this case, it's the Dome crease brush, or the Deluxe crease brush from the Real Techniques line. And I'm just gonna gently tap it in any place that I applied the concealer to make sure that I'm getting that coverage. Now, the only thing that kind of stinks about only using concealer is that if your concealer isn't the perfect shade for your skin, then obviously it's not going to be as helpful. but we're going to work with that, so don't worry just yet. Now that that concealer is done, I am going to go in with my two other concealers, and these are more brightening products. So since it is the summer and I want to look awake at this event, I'm just going to go in with these concealers. So I'm just going to apply the Rimmel one mainly to my under eye circles, and then the brightening one to the center of my nose, my inner corner, and slightly on top of that other one. It's kind of like one of those Instagram color correcting videos, but not really. And again, I'm just using my beauty blender because I like how it blends everything out. So now when I look in a mirror, my skin has the coverage that I want, honestly. It looks pretty flawless, especially considering I don't have any kind of foundation on. And now if I'm studying throughout the day, I can kind of go in and blot it and not really worry about foundation, because I just find foundation makes everything just a little harder to work with in the heat. And now I'm going to go in and prime my eyelids. So I'm just using my NARS Pro Prime Smudge Proof Eyeshadow Base because I would never do any kind of eyeshadow or eye makeup without it. And in the summer, if you guys don't suffer from transfer, but you do suffer from sweat, this will keep your eyeshadows and your eyeliners in place, locked, and they're not gonna go anywhere, I promise you. Before I do my eyeshadow, I am going to do my eyebrows, because I find that if you don't have your eyebrows on, then your eyeshadow just isn't going to look as good until you've taken that step to really define your brow. So one brow is done and the other one looks a lot sadder. My eyebrows seem so unsymmetrical today, but I'm just gonna work with it for right now. We'll see if I need to fix it a little bit later. So I am going to just set my brows using my Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. And since this brow gel is kind of wearing a little bit, I am going to just also use this spoolie to blend out the edges of that and help soften it a little bit. Okay, so getting into the eyes now, I'm going to set off in achieving that eye look that I showed you guys before that Shay had. So I'm going to be using a couple of different palettes here, so I'll just get them out of the way of introducing them to you now. The first one is the Shade and Light Eye Palette. This I'm grabbing because it has these gray tones over here, and I also might dip into this brownie guy over here. And maybe some of the lighter ones in there as well. I'm also pulling out a really old MAC palette that I have called Call Me Bubbles. This is literally from like when I started YouTube. And the reason I'm pulling this is because I might want these orangey or pink tones. I haven't fully decided if the shadow may need that to balance out the purple. And then, because I'm really crazy, I also have a couple of singles that I'm going to be using for the inner corner highlight. Because Shay had that like really iridescent purpley and kind of pinky shade, I'm mixing together two colors. And this is the L'Oreal Infallible eyeshadow in the shade Strawberry Blonde, which is a really pretty iridescent, like pink holographic kind of color. And then this Urban Decay shadow, which is again super, super old, like from when I went to my first prom, which was 6 years ago. So I highly doubt that this is still in their line, but they probably have the same color maybe. And this is the Deluxe eyeshadow in the shade Ransom. So a really pretty, like purpley iridescent color again. I'm going to start with the eyeshadows. And what I'm going to do is on a fluffy flat brush, I'm actually going to blend together the taupe and the cream color in the palette and just apply that all over my eye. I just want a really nice even base and kind of get that gray in there. Okay, so looking at the picture, she kind of just has the brown blended out throughout her eye. So I'm going to start by taking a mixture of the light brown and this brown, and I'm going to just carve out the shape of the eye that I want with a detailing brush. And she kind of had like a cat eye shape going on, so it's coming higher up there, like that. So now what lifting this does, like just at the outer corner, I'm kind of tapering it up, if you see, and then I'm slanting it down. So it's not just following the crease of my eye, it's literally dragging every stroke a little bit higher. Kind of like that. I'm gonna start with there. So I am going to now take a blending brush and just soften that. And now this color is really all over her eyes, so I'm going to bring it down while I'm blending it out. And so now if you guys can kind of see, I'm trying to keep my brush strokes in that almost diagonal direction. So that way everything forms almost a point out here. So I'm pretty happy with where that is so far, but I do think that her eyeshadow has a little bit more of like an orangey tone to it. So I'm gonna go in with that MAC palette and just pull on another blending brush this orangey tone. And the brush that I'm pulling it on actually has a little bit of that same brown color from earlier. And I'm just going to blend it on top, so that way that orange gets pulled in, but it's not over dramatic. Okay, so that is where I'm going to leave the eyes, because personally, her eyeshadow was a little darker and more dramatic, but I am going out partially during the day, so I don't want it as dark as she has, and I find that dark eyeshadow just really doesn't suit me as much. So now I'm going to drag the combination of those three eyeshadows on that same pencil brush that I used earlier. I'm just dragging those three eyeshadows down here. Okay, so now that that is done, before I go in with the sparkly shade, I am going to just pull a brown eyeliner. This is the 24/7 Glide On Hustle. It's just any kind of brown eyeshadow, honestly. And I'm just going to tightline my upper lash line. Again, you can apply that eyeliner to your lower lash line, but again, I'm trying to keep it a little bit more daytime appropriate, so I'm going to skip that. Now, to do my inner corner highlight, I'm going to do something that I've actually never done before. I've literally never used this color. This is the Urban Decay Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade Woodstock. It is the brightest pink that I think I own, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of this to the inner corner. Literally the tiniest bit. I don't even know if you guys can see that because I don't want to go overboard and use this and then hate it and then not be able to take it back. And I'm going to take just a little detailing brush and blend it out a little bit. Because now when you apply a pink like that, you run the risk that you might look like you have an eye infection or something like that, which would not be cute at all. But so far, I kind of like how it looks. It gives it just that kind of pop that is kind of in right now, but I'm going to amp it up. So using that same little brush, I'm going to start with the holographic color from L'Oreal and just getting rid of that excess because I don't want this iridescence all over my face. I am going to pack that on top of the pink. And this, oh my god, looks insanely cool. Look at that. I don't know, I hope you guys can see that on camera because in person, it looks really cool. So, Shay definitely has a lot more of it going on, again, because hers probably wasn't for daytime, but I'm going to keep it there for a second and see how I feel about it as I continue. Now I'm gonna go in with that purpley color. I don't really know if I need this, but I like the idea of using it. And I'm just taking the littlest bit on that same brush and I'm just going to layer it over. And the reason why I really want to use this color, this purpley color, which I'm gonna pick up a little more of because I actually like what it's doing, is because I have brown eyes. And as does Shay, which is why I think this works. Purple is kind of the color that people recommend and makeup artists recommend to pair with brown eyes. But personally, I don't like wearing colored eyeshadow in general, like all over my eye. I just don't think it looks good on me. But by applying it to the inner corner as your highlight, I think it's really quite pretty. So I'm going to keep it there for right now and line my lid. Now, Shay didn't line her upper lash line. She didn't use any kind of liquid eyeliner, but I just need it to open up my eyes because my eyes are so tiny. So I'm just going to apply a thin line of the Kat Von D tattoo liner to my upper lash line. I made a little oopsie, but I adjusted my eyeliner and I think it's gonna be okay. I hope. So now that the eyes are basically done, I'm going to finish it off with some mascara. And I'm sure Shay has some sort of false eyelash situation going on, but I don't want to fucks with that today. And by the way, this is the CoverGirl Super Sizer Fibers Mascara, which I'm getting a lot of smudges. I know. I'm going to grab a Q-tip and fix it, don't worry. Okay, so in case if you guys are noticing any difference, like how the camera's framed or how the makeup looks, very honestly, I filmed this whole video yesterday and I imported the footage, didn't look at it, and I got on my computer this morning to edit it, and it was missing like the last 10 minutes of me finishing my makeup. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I caught all of today's makeup up back to where we left off yesterday. So I finished the eyes and the mascara. I will say I did do a little bit more inner corner because at the end of the video that I filmed yesterday, I wanted a little more of that. So hopefully that's showing up on camera. But yeah, so let's just get into finishing the makeup. So since I didn't apply foundation, I am going to take some loose powder. This is the NARS Soft Velvet Loose Powder in the shade Beach, which is a lighter color, and or it's a lighter color compared to where I am right now because I'm pretty tan. So the reason why I'm using a pressed powder, considering I skipped foundation, is because I find that I have a really hard time matching concealers to my face. So like any place that I applied like a concealer on a blemish, it might not match that exact portion of my face. That's kind of the magic of wearing foundation, is that it evens everything out. So when you don't have the foundation on anymore, you have to be really careful with your concealer. And since I wear foundation on a daily basis, except for in the summertime when I'm going to really hot events, I don't have that problem normally. So I try to counteract it by applying a loose powder. Now, because I was going for a little more of a dramatic look yesterday, I did contour my skin. So looking at my Shade and Light palette, this is the Shade and Light contouring palette from Kat Von D. I try to pick out the shade that I think kind of goes with my skin tone the most. And since I'm not going for a super dramatic contour, I definitely don't need the darkest color, so I'm gonna go in with this middle one. And I'm going to do that on a dense contouring brush. This one's by Real Technique. So I'm going to apply it to like just where my cheekbones start, because it's going to blend down later, and doing it in a fairly straight line like that. And then to the temples of my face. Ooh, I think I picked up the darker color there. That's not good. It'll blend out though, it's okay. And then to just under my lip, like that, and then my jawbone. And since it's a formal event, I did bring it down my neck to just try and get that to pop. And then on a little pencil brush, I'm going to take that contouring shade and just pop out my nose a little bit. And that is all that I did for contouring. So, of course, we're not going to leave it like that. I am going to blend it out. And the way that I choose to blend out my contour during the summer is to layer some bronzer over it. So this is the Marc Jacobs Omega bronzer. You guys know it. It's my favorite. And the one pot of this lasts you probably forever, for your whole life. And I love that. So I'm first going to blend out the nose contour, because I feel like that is the most insane part of contouring. And until that's blended out, I just look crazy. Then on a fluffier brush, I'm going to pick up my bronzer and hit my cheekbones. And by bringing in this bronzer on top of the contour, I can kind of chisel out my face in a little bit of a more natural way, but I have that almost like layered natural shadow look by having applied the contour first. And let me just tell you guys, if you are ever getting ready and you're gonna wear hoops for the night, don't wear your hoops when you're putting on your makeup, because the two do not go together. Going into blush, looking at the picture of Shay, she had a very true kind of pinky tone. So I decided to go in with this middle, almost like corally pink from the Hourglass Ambient Blush palette. And I'm just putting it almost into like the hollows of my cheeks where blush would go. She definitely doesn't wear her blush high, and by applying it here, it almost hollows out your face a little more. And then I've just been dusting my blush over my nose in the last couple weeks, because I think it just gives you a very sun-kissed kind of look. So that's that. I think apply a little more blush. Cheeks. But you don't want a strong blush or anything in this look, because you really want the focus to be on that pop of color in the inner corners. She does have a very nice glow in this picture, so I'm going to layer a couple different products. And the first one is one of my favorites. It's the Ambient Lighting Palette from, again, Hourglass, because I love the finish of their powders. And I'm going to first pull the very bronzy shade over here and just apply that to the cheekbones. But because it's a finishing powder, not a highlighting powder, I can be generous with it, get it underneath my eyes, down the center of my nose, and just kind of the high points of my face, like that. And to bump up the glow, I'm going to be using one of my old highlighting powders. This video has definitely been one filled with throwback products, but this is one of my favorite highlighting powders ever, and it's the Dior shimmer powder in the shade Amber Diamond. They probably 99% sure don't have this product anymore, so any kind of rosy or like pinky nude toned shimmer product would work really well for this. I'm going to just take my highlighting brush and run it into the powder, and then her highlight is just in this area right where her eyebrow ends to like center the eyebrow down, so I'm trying to keep it right there. And just build it up to where you get a nice little shimmer. Oh, you can see it so much better on this side. And then I'm obsessed with getting a little bit of highlighter on the tip of my nose, my Cupid's bow. And then just down the bridge of my nose, any excess. And if you want, you can throw in a little chin action there too. So now that the highlighting is done, I'm ready to finish the look with the step that I typically forget, but I didn't this time, and that is my lips. So Shay had a very nudie neutral lip, and it had like a hint of a pinky shade to it. So one thing that I really want to avoid with this look is to go too nude that it almost looks like a winter look, because it is the middle of summer, but I also want it not to be such a pinky shade that it throws off the purple in my, or the purpley pink inner corner. So I'm starting by applying the lip liner from Kat Von D, the Everlasting Lip Liner in the shade Lolita. And I'm just applying this ever so slightly to even out my lips and also get them a shape that I like. If you like that, you could just stop there, but I have another oldie but goodie lip gloss here, which I should probably throw away, but it's the shade Tangerine from Bobbi Brown, and it's just a very corally lip gloss. And I'm not a huge lip gloss person, so I'm using this sparingly, just enough to get that kind of corally pigment. And I'm going to pat that in with my finger, and it's looking a lot darker today than yesterday. So I'm going to blend it a little more, and then, because I don't want a lot of lipstick, I'm just kissing it off on my arm, and I'll go and wash my arm off as soon as I'm done filming this video. So that is it for this makeup look. I hope that you guys liked it and you think that it came out very wearable, but still like something out of my comfort zone and maybe out of your comfort zone too. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought, and leave me any kind of video requests that you have down there as well. I'll see you guys next time. I hope that you guys like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye! And if you guys want to check out any of my other videos, you can go ahead and click on 2 of them here, or you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel by clicking on my floating head.